role nobody wants. Welcome back once again to another episode of JV Matters, where we talk about sports, especially high school football. I'm your host, Coach Lowry. Today we'll continue the week this week on your role both as a coach and a player. So let's get started. Have you ever noticed that every football player wants the same role? They want to be a starter. They want the ball. They want the recognition. They want their name to be announced over the loudspeaker during the game or on game nights. Some coaches can be the same way. They want to grab the headlines. They want to grab up everything. But in reality, that isn't how it works. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Competition is healthy. Ambition is healthy. Wanting more is healthy. It creates a great environment. As long as nobody gets hurt, it's a great way to push that person next to you, to include your coaches. Make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music. As long as your coaches aren't jumping out in front of your players and bad mouthing or getting in arguments in front of your players. But football teaches a lesson that many young athletes struggle to learn. Not every role gets applause, and yet every role matters. But not every player understands that. Not everyone understands that. The players don't understand that. The parents don't understand that. And some coaches don't understand that. And one of the biggest mistakes I see young players make is believing their value comes from their position on the depth chart. And how true is this? Recently, somehow, players saw a scratched up positional charts I had made weeks ago. And I'm talking probably even months ago of one of my players heard his name was at the bottom of a positional chart. Didn't even mean anything. It was just I scratched and put names down so I knew who I had in what positions. He immediately sent me a message asking about that. I told him as well as the entire team that depth chart, as well as the next 400 or 500 more depth charts that I'm going to make between now and the start of the season, or at least until after camp, they don't mean anything right now. There's nothing set solid until after we get back from camp. So it seems that if they're starting, they're happy. If they're not starting, they feel overlooked. If they're getting the ball, they're engaged. And if they're not getting the ball, they seem to lose interest. Why is that? The problem is that football doesn't work that way. A football team is built on all players doing their job. That often goes unnoticed. Teams function best when players understand their responsibilities and how their responsibilities fit into the bigger picture. So just what they see is not the entire picture. A lot of players go around in tunnel vision, just seeing straight ahead and not seeing the whole picture. They just see, I want to start, coach. How come I'm not starting? Why am I not doing this? You're actually bringing a lot to the table, regardless of your position, regardless of where you are on the depth chart, whether you're starting. This goes along with coaches as well. Coaches need to know their role also. I try to divide my coaches according to their strengths. Coaches who are committed, of course, then they are the ones who get the coordinating positions to be coordinators or positions that I can count on them. A team's success relies on everyone from the scout player to each coach. So from the very bottom of the chain or the food chain, if you want to go that route, think about the offensive lineman. Nobody interviews him after a game. Nobody posts his stats on social media. Most fans couldn't tell you who he is. but take him away from the offensive line, and the whole offense falls apart. Take away even just the backup offensive lineman. Last year, our offensive line was a patchwork line after about the third or fourth game because many of our players were moving up to varsity because many players got injured. So they were moving up. And so we were putting together an offensive line, a makeshift offensive line through the entire season, or the majority of the season. Now think about the scout team player, the kid who spends all week helping prepare the starters, the kid who gets beat up in practice. That's literally it. They put those pads on. That poor kid is spending more time on the ground getting beat up. The kid who rarely gets credit. He's helping the team win every single week. He never gets his name in the paper or gets his recognition. Think about the backup linebacker, the second string quarterback, special teams player, the player who never complains and is always ready. Those roles may not get or never be glamorous, but they matter. Every player or every play on the field matters. Whether you want to admit it or not, one of my favorite things about coaching is watching players grow into their role. Not because they settle. No, they don't settle for that position or I should say for that role. Their job or their goal, I hope, is to become a starter or at least get that second string spot because they're going to get a lot of playing time. Not because they gave up on becoming more, but because they understood that excellence starts with mastering where you are today. I've seen players spend an entire season frustrated because they weren't getting what someone else was getting. More playing time, more recognition, more opportunities. I've seen players yelling at the quarterback when they go out for a pass. I'm open, I'm open. Hey, throw me the ball, throw me the ball. But the ball never comes their way, and it never will because the quarterback knows the defense is trying to set you up. The quiet and patient player is the one that's going to get that ball. Because eventually that quarterback's going to say he's open because he's doing his job. Each play is designed for a particular player and or position and then progression. So you know your role. You have to know your role. Each play, run your route 100% each time. Because when you take off that play, you could have been the one the quarterback was looking for. And that's why he gets sacked or he gets hurt. The problem was players become focused on someone else's role that they neglect their own. And when that happens, growth stops. One of the best pieces of advice I can give an athlete is this: stop comparing, start preparing. Because opportunities have a funny way of showing up unexpectedly. An injury happens. We don't want that, but it happens. Every season there's an injury, and your number might be called there. A player moves up to varsity. Your number gets called. Position opens up. Again, a player gets injured, grades, whatever. Something happens, it opens up. You have to be ready. And suddenly, the player who stayed ready gets his chance. And coaches see this. Prepared coaches are ready to make that change. Question is, will you be ready when your moment comes? Or will you have spent your time complaining about why it hadn't come yet? Why are you still sitting on the bench? Why are you still second or third string? be prepared. I've coached players who weren't starters at the beginning of the season, but by the end of the season, they were some of the most important contributors of the game on my team. Some of them ended up being starters by the end of the season. Not because they complained. I won't listen to a complainer. Not because they demanded more. I won't listen to those people either. Because I watch and see what they're doing on the field. Because they kept working at it. They kept trying. They embraced their role while preparing for a larger one. That's a lesson that extends far beyond football. Every successful organization has people performing different roles. Every successful family has people performing different roles. Every successful team has people contributing in different ways. Football is a family. You need to work it as a family. You need to become part of that family. Find your role, settle into it, and then perform at it and get better in your family, in your role. Success happens when people focus on what they can control and perform their role with pride. Team success comes from individual commitment and understanding how each contribution supports the whole. The truth is, some of the most valuable people on the team are rarely the most celebrated. They're the most dependable people. They're the most consistent people. They're the most selfless people. They are the most prepared people. And those are most often the people coaches trust the most. Because coaches know something players eventually learn. Talent is important, but reliability is priceless. Coaches will put more stock in reliability in most cases because they can trust you, because you're going to be at practice, you're going to be at all the games, you're going to be everywhere when a coach needs you. A JV coach, one of the lessons as a JV coach, one of the lessons I try to teach every year is that your role today does not determine your future, but how you handle your role today often does. So whether you are a starter, a backup, the scout player, or the team captain, take pride in your role, master it, own it, and keep preparing for what's next because you never know when that opportunity is going to present itself. Because every player I've ever coached started somewhere, and many of them started as a role nobody wanted. So, in closing, everybody wants the spotlight. Few people want to work that earn it. Know your role, do it well, and when the opportunity comes, make sure you're ready for it. So thanks for tuning in. If you like what you saw and what you're hearing, and you know somebody else who might benefit from it, please subscribe below, share it with somebody, and I'll catch you on the next episode of JV Matters. You all have an outstanding day.